Conferencia de prensa. Comisionado, por favor.
Thank you very much. We can now begin. Commissioner, please. Good
Good
morning,
morning,
everyone who's
everybody.
joining
It's
us.
my pleasure
We're so
to
pleased to
greet
greet you.
you. And today
We're
here
here to carry
to
out the
present
presentation
the
of
results of
the
the
results of the
2024
2024
Vaquita
Vaquita
survey.
survey. I want to thank everyone who was
Thank you
able to
to
join
everyone
us.
who's here with us.
We have
Here we
the
have
captain head of the
Captain
Civil Protection and Contingency subsection of the Army General Chief of Staff, Juan Luis Miraflores Ruiz. We also have the CEO of Sea Shepherd International, Pritam Singh. We have scientists and specialists like Gustavo Cárdenas Hinojosa, Dr. Barbara Taylor, as well as the director of Sea Shepherd Mexico, Julian Rodriguez. We will begin with a small introduction. And first of all, we would like to dedicate this streaming to Armando Jaramillo, a member of the Sea Mammal group. He cannot join us because he is getting a medical treatment, but he is part of our team. And so we would like to greet him and thank him for his contribution in this work and at CONAMP. So we will continue.
Okay, so with our first slide, first it's important to know what's the area we're talking about. This is a natural protected area categorized as biosphere reserve in the upper Gulf of California and Colorado River Delta with 934,756 hectares. We find a diversity of flora and fauna that does not exist elsewhere in the planet. And one of these species is a vaquita. Now, the goals of this survey, just as last year, where we standardized methodologically, this is the second survey we've done with a collaboration of Navy as a strategic ally, Sea Shepherd International, and within the framework of the Upper Gulf Sustainability Group, we worked on the initiative to estimate the minimum population abundance of vaquita. We did the monitoring in two components, acoustic and visual. Importantly, we seek to generate scientific data which allow to update knowledge on the species, population, and habitat, as well as strengthening training process of community observers and local participation in the conservation of vaquita. And I will delve into this a little bit further on. How the acoustic component works. We place acoustic detectors in the vaquita habitat, mainly in the ZTA. What is the ZTA? This is where we don't allow any fishing gear. We do this to detect pulses and locate acoustic encounter sites. With this data, we generate a distribution map and the necessary input to orient the visual monitoring effort. So we detect acoustically and then go on vessels. The acoustic monitoring is done with experts of a marine mammal research group with the participation of fishermen who've been trained on this task for several years. The visual component is done on board two vessels. One of them with an elevated platform with specialized equipment called big eye binoculars to observe and estimate data such as the number of individuals, their size, and approximate distance to the point of observation and bodily features. This is very important because in the scientist presentation, we will see an exercise of measuring a specimen. We will see this in a couple minutes. The second vessel allows a greater approach to sites with visual encounters. Aside of observation, we use telephotos and drones to get images of sighted individuals. And we have other vessels for logistical support, for staff and operational inputs for this survey. What information is relevant in 2024? First, in the survey, just as in last year's, we had the main purpose observation experts in the world from Mexico, United States, and Canada. Second of all, we are innovating in technical scientific actions for the specific detection of the vaquita using an innovation which is FBOTs, which are specially designed for acoustic monitoring purposes. This will allow us to progress. If before we had CPODs placed to identify vaquita based on their acoustic signals, now we are submerging this tool to get control on when it emerges. This allows us to have control on never losing devices, but also getting information permanently. This is an innovation. We tested this in this exercise and it was successful. For the next one, in collaboration with Sea Shepherd, we're going to use these devices which will provide greater scientific information to locate the territories that have not been monitored until now. We have a training process and equipment we provide to youth in the San Felipe community with a vessel, cameras, and drones for them to become experts in observing Vaquita marina and generate community science and citizen science. Had not happened before, especially involving the population in observing the species and them developing skills so that outside the time of a survey, they can do their monitoring. This had never happened before. This is an innovation which will start in 2024. We have the participation of a group of Mexican researchers helped by American foundations and a Mexican university with new technologies for the detection of vaquita environment DNA, which will help improve the population knowledge on this species. This means with a water sample, we can estimate the population abundance of a species. This is another innovation which will be applied with the findings in the second half of the year. Aside from the acoustic component and the visual component, we will now have an environmental DNA component, which will allow us to estimate population abundance and population location. The 23 and 24 surveys were done in May to optimize fund management and these technologies and technological improvements. Between 2019 and 2024, numbers have shown that populations remain stable. The data available between 2019 and 2024 see that figures remain stable. We've gone from 5 to 13 in 2021, according to different reports. This year, as our scientists will show, we identify 6 to 8 cited, and then with techniques, we identify them as present in the area. Standardization of acoustic and visual monitoring and now DNA monitoring allows us to see an evolution of a population in a reliable, technically sound manner. So the population has remained stable from 19 to 24, which is the data we have available. And in 2021, we located 5 individuals. This year we found 6 as a minimum and a maximum of 8. What other actions are coming? First, we will do an acoustic monitoring effort between June and December. We had not done this since 2015. We will start doing this work with our different monitoring instruments, which we already ordered, the FPODs, which are submersible and provide data. And we will collect data outside of the ZTA, which is very important because we identify 6 to 8, but it seems that other places we have not monitored outside of the ZTA, and there may be Vaquita in this other area. A promotion of alternative fishing gear through a participating process. We will start training, but also a process to identify with different local stakeholders for us to create fishing gear together with them. We will start working on this with the Upper Gulf Sustainability Intergovernment Group, and we should be finishing this in September. So this is very important, and we will start doing this next month. Restoration of the aquatic habitat through a hook sweep to detect and remove phantom nets outside of a ZTA. We do this regularly with our community support programs. And we also want to strengthen environmental culture promotion in the Upper Gulf of California community. We are transforming nets we find in the area, transform them into local statues, local Vaquita statues, and placing them in schools in the Upper Gulf communities. So we're trying to signify the relevance of protecting the species. This image you see to your left is maybe one of the best Vaquita images. What we see on the top is most likely the mother, and in the lower part, a youth, possibly a year old, which means the calves from last year have grown. We found this youth, and this may be some of the best footage we've caught in history. At the end of this broadcast, we will share a video with some of our best images on the species in a magical sighting of 4 specimens towards the end of the survey this year. Specifically, what do we think is most relevant in this process? We will increase the acoustic monitoring zone with a new generation of F-bonds, which are submersible, which will give us more information without the risk of losing devices, and also monitoring outside of the ZTA to monitor the behavior of this species, together with national, international experts, but also together with local communities by involving local stakeholders. Second, we will start environmental DNA to analyze population presence. This
Very
is
good.
the technical evolution of a monitoring system.
It's going good.
I think someone's microphone was open. But as I was saying, environmental DNA monitoring is important to analyze populations because we didn't used to do it. And so it's now a new monitoring component and will allow us to identify populations in areas where we didn't before. The risk area analysis is done within the regular framework of the intergovernment group. But so we will sit down with the Navy to see which could be additional protection measures. This is very relevant because we have this coordination group led by the head of our Environment and Natural Resource Ministry. And so we will agree on what the additional measures will be. And now I'd like to close by saying that this has been a very relevant exercise because we standardized a method. We have resources. Mexico has financial, technical, and material resources for this survey. And we have reliable information which will allow to follow up on this species for its protection. With this, I'll close my first intervention, and now I'd like to give the floor to Captain Miraflores from the Navy. Captain, Head of Civil Protection and Contingency Subsection of the Army General's Chief of Staff. Go ahead.
Es para mí un verdadero honor formar parte de este equipo.
It is an honor to be part of this team. First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting us to participate in such important event. And I want to greet the Secretary of the Navy, Mr. Duran. I'd like to say that the Navy is now 10 years of an active and permanent participation in the upper Gulf of California with the governmental and fishing authorities of our country. Before 2015, there was some participation. However, it had not been as active according to the collaboration agreements we held. We must recognize all of these efforts because as of 2020, with the intergovernment group creation, we strengthened coordination of the Mexican government agencies to meet international agreements like the action plan as approved by CITES. In all of these years, the Navy has not only participated in land, sea, and air operations, but also has carried out important projects, among which I'd like to mention the installation of the sea vigilance radar, as well as installation of blocks. And we're now betting on this technology, and we are in the process of continuing with the satellite monitoring for minor vessels. And I would like to make a special acknowledgement of legal fishermen of San Felipe who have gladly received this current strategy that we're hoping to start in October of this year. And of course, this is no mistake. I'd like to thank Sea Shepherd for their great collaboration with Operation Miracle and with the intergovernment group. I think that we will get great results. Finally, I'd like to emphasize that we hope that we will continue to make progress with the creation of the trilateral group between Mexico, the US, and China. The Ministry of the Navy reiterates its commitment with the people of Mexico, and we hope that we will continue strengthening our relationships as well as any intelligence operations. I'd also like to recognize the staff who has participated in this survey. Thank you. We want to thank you, Captain. And now we will go with Pritam Singh, CEO, Sea Shepherd International.
Unfortunately, it says my video is not starting. Okay. There we go. Marvelous. Thank you. My name is Pritam Singh. I am the chairman of the board and CEO of Sea Shepherd Conservation Society. Thank you all for joining today's important announcement. I want to thank Commissioner Pena of CONAMP for being part of this important announcement today. And of course, thanks and appreciation to Admiral Secretary of Samar, Admiral Ojeda, to Captain Miraflores and Ruiz, and the great men and women of the Mexican Navy. We are fortunate every day to be our partners at sea. Special thanks to Barbara Taylor for leading the visual survey and bringing her passion, dedication, and deep understanding of the Vaquita to this scientific exercise. Everyone who cares about marine wildlife is in her debt. And we remain fortunate to have her expertise brought to bear in this larger effort. I also want to thank Gustavo Cardenas Hunosa for leading the acoustic portion of the survey and the many, many scientists who participated in the survey. The mission we share with CONAMP, CIMAR, Semernat, Dr. Taylor, and countless others is simple. We must do everything possible to save the vaquita. For Sea Shepherd, our commitment to the vaquita survival is absolute. Along with our partners in the Mexican government, we pledge to redouble our efforts to protect this species. And in the coming weeks, our partnership will deploy new technologies to help find the vaquita, bolstering our ability to defend the most endangered marine mammal on Earth. Sea Shepherd's role in the larger effort to save the vaquita comes in the form of Operation Milagro, which is our cooperation with multiple agencies of the Mexican government to keep the zero tolerance area and its extension free of illegal fishing gear that has brought the vaquita to the brink of extinction. Sea Shepherd has been in this fight for almost 10 years, and we will continue as long as the vaquita needs us. Each Operation Milagro has evolved and adapted, and as we move forward, we will continue to help keep the ZTA and its extension clear of every gill nets every day. We will work with the researchers and the Mexican government to uncover the current distribution of the vaquita so that we can right-size our conservation efforts. We came to this campaign knowing this would be a long and difficult road. This was true then, and it is true now. But this is the one important thing, saving the vaquita. Again, saving the vaquita. This is important. Our partnership is important, and on behalf of Sea Shepherd, I pledge today that we are resolute, we are unwavering in our commitment, and we will continue to support and work with the Mexican government every day to achieve these goals on behalf of the environment and on behalf of the future we have in our hands of our children and grandchildren. I thank CONAMP, I thank CIMAR, thank Semernat, and everyone involved in protecting the vaquita for having me participate in this announcement. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, Pritam.
Thank you very much, Pritam. It's our pleasure to collaborate with you. You've been strategic allies in the implementation of this survey, but especially in the protection actions in the framework of the GIS, because the only way we can save Vaquita is collaborating and making an effort in this regard. So thank you very much. And now we would like to hear the message of Gustavo Cárdenas Hinojosa, member of the Marine Mammal Research and Conservation Group in the CONAMP. He will then give the floor to Barbara Taylor, an independent research scientist and one of the people who knows Vaquita best in the planet and who has helped us in the visual organizational component of this survey. Go ahead, Gustavo. Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Gustavo Cardenas Hinojosa. I work at the Natural Protected Area Commission Marine Mammal Research and Conservation Group. I've worked at several Vaquita research projects since 2008, and it's an honor for me to present the Vaquita survey acoustic component results on behalf of Dr. Armando Jaramillo Legorreta, who has been the leader of a Vaquita acoustic monitoring program for 26 years. Vaquita, as well as other odontocetes like dolphins, beaked whales, or cachalots, are characterized by their ability to produce echolocation sounds. This allows them to know their environment by emitting sounds and interpreting the echo that objects produce upon contact with such sound. Vaquita only emits echolocation pulses at a very high frequency, between 128 and 139 kilohertz. Here I'm showing you a graph where we see the different types of sounds emitted by odontocetes. We cannot hear Vaquita pulses because they allow they lie outside of humans' audible range. It's worth noting that Vaquita pulses are easily differentiated from the pulses of other odontocetes groups because of their higher frequency. Our research group started monitoring Vaquita sounds acoustically since the 90s. From 97 to 2007, we studied Vaquita population trends by analyzing Vaquita sighting rates. We used a small vessel which navigated to sampling sites in the upper Gulf of California and placed a hydrophone in the water column with the aid of buoys. So if a vaquita went by, then our electronic equipment would record that. The low numbers of vaquita drastically reduces the probability of acoustic detection. Therefore, in the 2008 survey, 3 acoustic detectors were tested, and the best performer in terms of autonomy and vaquita signal detector was a device called CPOD, which had been specifically designed to pick up purpose sounds for passive acoustic monitoring. And we recently started using a new and improved version of this device called FPOD. Once the detector was selected, in those years, a new monitoring scheme was designed for the Vaquita refuge area, which would allow to increase the sample size to continue estimating the population trend in an statistically robust manner. In 2011, acoustic monitoring started, and the results from 2011 to 2018 witnessed a drastic decrease in vaquita population as well as their distribution area. The purple color in this figure, the darker color, the more increased frequency in vaquita pulse detection, and we can see its changes. Acoustic monitoring is currently only done in the ZTA, which I'm showing in green. And given vaquita sighting had been increasingly difficult, in 2018, in different research projects, acoustic monitoring started to be used to guide visual efforts with the goal of increasing the likelihood of sighting vaquitas. It's worth noting that the acoustic monitoring program is supported by a group of local San Felipe fishermen who provide essential help. Since 2011, they are in charge of navigating their vessels to sampling sites to place and retrieve acoustic detectors. Therefore, in this survey, once again, we collaborated with fishermen and leveraged acoustic monitoring to guide visual efforts through maps with Vaquita acoustic detections. FPOD detectors were placed at 34 sampling sites in the ZTC. Acoustic detectors were replaced every day, except in the absence of seaworthy conditions. So fishermen would give us the detectors, we would open them and extract the memory card with acoustic data. I'm showing a picture of the FPOD. And then with the specialized software, which I'm showing here, we would download data into the computer and apply an algorithm to sort sounds into 4 types, including purpose, high frequency echolocation pulses. And of course, in the upper Gulf of California, we only have vaquita. And this is how we identified vaquita acoustic detections at every sample site. This information, sorry. This information was used to generate daily reports we provided to Dr. Taylor, the leader of a visual team, for her to be able to gear the visual effort. And I'm showing an example of a map here. Every black circle is a sampling site, and the blue numbers in the center indicate the number of acoustic detections that day, and we would also report which sampling site this belonged to. Our results were 549 days of acoustic data were recorded from May 3rd to May 27, and this map shows the distribution of the acoustic findings. Again, circles are the sites, and the blue numbers in the center show the number of Vaquita detections at each site. Red circles indicate sites where anchorings were lost. And unfortunately, as we can see, we mainly lost anchorings in the area where Vaquita presence is high. Nevertheless, there were 70 Vaquita acoustic detections. And as you can see in the figure, as happened in the 2023 Vaquita survey, the Northwest area saw the highest acoustic activity in the ZTC. Just like in the 2023 Vaquita survey, another goal of a 2024 survey was to continue training youth community observers on the use of high-power binoculars to observe and identify Vaquita. This furthered the training provided in 2023 on Vaquita information detection and gathering within the framework of a community project, which was part of a CONAMP ecosystem and priority species protection and restoration program. The results of the training were that 17 youths from the San Felipe community were trained on visual sampling methods, and they looked for Vaquita from both vessels. The youth was very enthusiastic, and most were able to sight Vaquita, which was an amazing experience for them. With further training, some could actually be a part of the observer team in the future. Moreover, given how rare Vaquita is, we recommend that youth could visit other sites like La Paz or Ensenada in Baja to practice observing and photographing other cetacean species. We also recommend they be trained specifically in purpose sighting in areas where these cetaceans are common, such as British Columbia and Canada. Finally, the Vaquita specialist also recommended the youth keep practicing using high-power binoculars, such as big eyes. Once again, we supported youth, community observers, in their training on sighting and identifying Vaquita, but starting this year, they also have a vessel, which I'm showing in this picture, and they also have cameras and drones to gather data on the species. Also, thanks to the partnership with Sea Shepherd, the youth will go on board the Seahorse this year to keep practicing using big eye binoculars to search for Vaquita, and they will be accompanied by an expert Vaquita observer. And now I'd like to give a floor to Dr. Taylor.
Barb va a continuar con los resultados del esfuerzo visual.
Barbara will tell us about the visual effort.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Barbara Taylor, an independent scientist recently retired after nearly 30 years with the U.S. National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. I've worked on Vaquita since 1991, and it is an honor to be entrusted by Commissioner Peñafuentes and Sea Shepherd's Pritam Singh to lead the visual team to, together with our Mexican acoustic colleagues, provide the best available science to help save Mexico's largest endemic mammal, the vaquita. The team of scientists had over 400 years of experience as professional biologists. Our days began at 4 a.m. and lasted as long as the waters were calm enough to see vaquitas. Vaquitas are porpoises specialized to echolocate to find food in the cloudy, productive waters of the upper Gulf. We were thrilled to capture this inspiring video of a mother and calf last year They were just outside the zero tolerance area, which was at the time unprotected. Following our 2023 results, the Navy deployed more blocks with metal hooks into this area, which I'll refer to as the extension area, or EA. Before getting into this year's findings, let me set the context with the recent history of vaquitas. Between 1997 and 2008, vaquitas went from around 600 to around 200 individuals. In 1997, I saw 80 vaquitas in a single hour of survey. Vaquitas' decline results from being killed in gill nets, and we know they die in all types of gill nets. That loss of 400 vaquitas resulted primarily from gill nets for shrimp, chano, and sierra. The market for shrimp was in the US. The Totoaba fishery experienced a surge in the mid-2000s, driven by strong black markets in China and Hong Kong. And the rate of decline increased from about 8% per year to around 45% per year. Throughout this period, it has always been clear that the survival of vaquitas depends on ridding their tiny distribution of gill nets. As vaquita declined, their distribution contracted. The round symbols are locations of acoustic detectors from 2014 to 2018. Darker purple means more vaquita echolocation clicks. The zero tolerance area, called ZTA for short, shown in the green box, was formed within a much larger vaquita refuge in the hopes that enforcement could guard the last stronghold of the species. Our past visual research efforts took place in autumn, which previously had the low wind conditions needed to see vaquitas, but was also the peak of shrimp gill netting season. Gill nets were so thick in the ZTA waters in 2018, 2019, and 2021 that our efforts to find and track vaquitas was hindered. Despite all that gill netting, vaquitas were holding on. If vaquitas continue to decline at 45% per year, they should be extinct by now. Instead, we were seeing robust animals with calves. These were real survivors. Let me introduce you to Anna, the first mother vaquita known to have a calf 2 years in a row. When you get down to 10 to 20 individuals in a species, every individual is important, but especially the mothers, who are the future of their entire species. You can see that she has nicks in her dorsal fin. These nicks are consistent with scars resulting from being entangled in the gill net and escaping. It was vaquitas like Anna that made us wonder whether these last survivors were not just a random 2% after 98% of their brothers and sisters had died in gill nets. Perhaps they had learned to be very careful around nets. This possibility made it even more worrisome when we haven't seen Anna since 2018. To protect the ZTA from gill netting, the Navy installed concrete blocks with hooks. This is a huge success. The Navy should be proud of implementing the first action that truly provides a sanctuary for vaquitas. For a species that has been on the absolute brink of extinction since 2018, hovering around a minimum of 10 individuals, there is finally an asylum. The Seahorse is equipped with state-of-the-art side scan sonar that has been used to search for ghost nets. The sonar settings are such that the sound attenuates at distances shorter than vaquitas will avoid the ship due to its regular engine noise. Here you see that the ZTA has been thoroughly covered. Since January 2023, 7 ghost nets have been found inside the ZTA. 3 of those stuck to concrete blocks, and 2 in the EA, both stuck to concrete blocks. In 2023 and 2024, we used 2 ships, the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society's Seahorse and the Sirena de la Noche. The strategy was to primarily rely on the Seahorse to find the vaquitas and the Sirena to photograph vaquitas. Because of the success of the 2023 survey, we repeated the visual survey methods using the same ships and nearly the same team of observers. We chose May for good weather conditions and surveyed more kilometers in the sea states needed to see and track vaquitas in 2024 than we did in 2023. I'll begin explaining this figure by orienting you to some features. San Felipe is on the gray land in the lower left. The ZTA is shown as a yellow rectangle, roughly 10 kilometers by 23 kilometers. The extension area that was added after last year's survey is in red. The 2024 survey covered areas to the southwest and southeast where there had been sightings in 2017, and 5 days of survey effort were added so that we had comparable effort as we had in 2023 within the ZTA and EA. I'm now going to remove the lines for those block protected areas so you can better see the 2024 effort. The small black dots are navigation points that coincide with where acoustic detectors were deployed within the ZTA. The acoustic vaquita detections are shown as green dots. The seahorse search tracks are in blue, the sirenas in red. We had good coverage throughout the study area, but concentrated effort in the areas where we had acoustic detections. We had 9 sightings seen here by the purple dots. 5 sightings were over 20 minutes long and had both photographs and video footage. 4 sightings were in the extension area, and 1 sighting spanned the boundary between the ZTA and the EA. In May, the primary fishing is for a fish called Sierra, which uses gill nets that hang down from the surface, unlike shrimp and totuaba nets that are set on the bottom. The Sierra nets can be deployed without entangling in the concrete block hooks. Because about half the vaquita sightings in this survey were in the EA, if these vaquitas are to be protected, they need the same legal protections as the ZTA. How do we estimate how many we saw over several weeks when we cover the same area repeatedly? And of course, the vaquitas themselves are swimming all about. The method we use is called expert elicitation. Scientists' observations are compiled into an evidence dossier, which adds information like maps, swim speeds, and photographs of the animals. For each sighting, the scientific team reads the evidence and assigns probabilities to the number of vaquitas that could have been in that sighting. At the end of the survey, we were led by experts in Scotland through an expert elicitation to answer 2 questions. 1, how many unique calves were seen in the study area? And 2, how many unique vaquitas were seen, including calves, in the study area? Here are the results. We estimated that within the areas surveyed, we had a 94% chance that we saw no calves, with a 6% chance of 1 or 2 calves. In 2023, we saw 1 to 2 calves, with a 10% chance of there being 3 calves. We did see one group that had a small individual here on the bottom of this video that initially observers thought could be a calf. Fortunately, we have drone footage of that individual. It acted very much like a calf, following along, but was quite large for a calf that would be 3 months old, since vaquitas calve in March. Measurements of this individual, combined with growth curves for vaquitas, estimate that this vaquita had just celebrated its first birthday. For this youngster, the ZTA was working. We estimated that within the area surveyed, there was a 75% belief that there were between 6 and 8 seen in 2024, compared with a 76% belief that there were between 8 and 13 seen in 2023. We caution that fewer numbers seen within the ZTA and EA this year cannot be interpreted as a decline in the species because we cannot rule out that vaquitas have moved out of this small part of their normal distribution. Our last sighting was of 4 individuals, including the yearling in the video. One of those individuals with a highly distinctive dorsal fin was a vaquita seen in 2018 and 2019, but not in 2021 or 2023. Where had this vaquita been? Nicks are permanent marks, so we know we have individuals missing since 2019, like the mother Anna I mentioned earlier, and other survivors. And as I mentioned earlier, when you are down to such small numbers in a species, every individual counts. We know we are looking in an area that is only 12% of their distribution, less than 10 years ago. You can see their distribution here with the dark purple dot showing high numbers of vaquita clicks and the red triangle showing sightings in 2015. The green box is the ZTA plus the EA. Even though the ZTA is protected from gill nets, vaquitas can freely swim to favored habitat. That could be what happened to our missing vaquitas. It's time to go listen and look. And there's no time to waste because outside the ZTA, vaquitas are unprotected. I took all these pictures this May. Gill netting remains the primary gear of local fishers. Ultimately, vaquitas will not recover until fishers are socialized and incentivized to use fishing methods that don't kill vaquitas. Fishers need to put food on the table, and vaquitas need to not die in gill nets. Making both these needs be satisfied is not impossible, but so far has proven elusive. No doubt, progress must be made to make that happen. But right now, we need to know where vaquitas are spending their time and adapt management to give the survivors a chance to save their species. And now I will turn the presentation back over to Dr. Gustavo Cardenas Hinojosa.
Thank you, Barb. Por las razones que acaba de explicar la doctora
For
Barbara
the
Taylor,
reasons that Dr. Taylor just explained, and because there hasn't been a survey covering vaquita distribution visually and acoustically since 2015, we will implement an acoustic monitoring program to know what the current vaquita distribution is, with a view to better interpreting data from recent and upcoming surveys. Therefore, during the 2024 vaquita survey, the first task was to test emerging devices in the anchorings to place detectors in the water column. These devices, which I'm showing here in the slide, have a release feature. With a cell phone, you can connect to the device to schedule the days when the buoy will be released, the yellow one there. Of course, when it's released, it floats in the surface and the material can be retrieved at the surface. This way, anchorings will be submerged with the FPOD. And this is very important because it allows to place anchorings without the buoy at surface, as we do in the ZTC. And therefore, we will prevent losses due to interaction with fishing activities and be able to gather data for this new program. During the survey, testing of the devices at 3 sample sites, which I'm showing here, and they were successful. Acoustic data collection will be done in 3 areas where vaquita used to be cited and vaquita acoustic detection was common. Here I'm showing you this area in the orange circle. And towards the end of June, the exact location of sampling sites will be discussed with other experts, where we'll place 10 FPODs. The sampling period will be 60 days long and will start in mid-July this year. The study period is very important because in June we started collecting acoustic data in the ZTA by the Vaquita Acoustic Monitoring Program, and this will in turn allow us to determine the current Vaquita distribution. We will have the full picture in all of this area. And last but not least, I'd like to emphasize that this project outside of a ZTA will be conducted with the support and collaboration of Sea Shepherd. Thank you. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much, Gustavo. Dr. Barbara Taylor, we thank you for your participation and the presentation of the results. And to close, I'd like to tell you that we've received a few questions, which I'll share with the experts for them to help us answer. The first for Dr. Taylor is, were vaquitas cited with net markings as happened in the 2023 survey?
We didn't see any individuals with notches in their fins that are consistent with net markings this year.
En ese mismo sentido, ¿qué podría significar esto?
What could this mean?
Well, it could mean that those individuals that have the experience of dealing with gill nets have moved back out into their favored habitat prior to 2018. Or it could mean we missed them, or it could mean that we've lost them. So we won't know until we go look.
Excelente, muchas gracias. Ahora, ¿qué otras
Okay,
medidas?
thank you, doctor. Now, what other protection measures are envisioned to protect Vaquita and Totuaba? And if you'll allow me, I will answer this. First, we will do a monitoring system, as Dr. Gustavo informed, from June to December. And as Dr. Barbara Taylor said, we will go to areas where we hadn't gone before with acoustic monitoring, so that we can also understand the species behavior in these additional areas. The next one is, for the first time, we will have local technical capacity building among San Felipe youngsters. The idea is for these 17 youths to participate in a program to develop their technical scientific skills to permanently monitor the species. That will happen immediately. They already have a vessel, drones, equipment, and now we will train them so they can monitor permanently. Third is, we will take measures along with the Upper Gulf Intergovernment Group to start a training process, but also consultation on fishing gear with local fishermen. We will start that in July and August, and it'll be a participative process. We are working along with fishermen for alternatives. Conapesca, Inapesca, and ourselves in the CONAMP will participate in this process to attend to this recommendation. And derived from this technical report, we will sit down with our colleagues at the Navy to analyze which would be additional protection areas. So what happened in 23, we reinforced in 2024. What happened this year, we will reinforce next year, because the process of recovering the species is a slow process, and we have to make the best decisions with science on our hands. Finally, is it likely that the population decreased, or is it just that not many were sighted because of weather conditions? What does it mean that fewer vaquita were detected that last year? Did the population decrease? The answer is no. This is a survey, and what we reported is vaquita sighted during the cruise, the survey. The data we have since 2019, where we observed 7 to 15. In 2021, we saw 5 to 13, and 23, 5 to 13. We can say that the population has remained stable. What's relevant is that they are still there. We saw a 1-year youngster. We saw that they're still in the area. Our visual and acoustic monitoring system works. We have greater resources and technical capacity to increase protection, and we have an interinstitutional cooperation space. This is a picture of this exercise. What we will do is keep on doing the same in 2025 to take measures for their protection, because we have the commitment, the unwavering commitment of the Mexican state to the species and to local communities that are helping us protect it. Finally, I'd like to thank everyone for being here. Special thanks to Fabian Rodriguez, a biologist technician, who, thanks to an agreement we have with a civil society organization and a university where Dr. Lorenzo Rojas also works, we were able to get the best footage on vaquita in history with a drone that looks for the species. We will share this video towards the end of this broadcast, of this streaming, and we will try to share this video with the new protectors of vaquita in the upper Gulf of California who are being trained as observers. So we will share these videos towards the end of this streaming. So without further ado, I'd like to thank everybody for your presence, and we will report at the 2025 survey. Good afternoon, everybody. We would like to thank Captain Miraflores, Pritam Singh online, Julian Escutia, who's here with us. Captain Carlos Alonso Ruiz Rodriguez from CEMAR is also here with us. Rosa Maria Avila, part of our team. Yadira Gomez, General Director of Regional Operation. Our colleagues from the Commission. And as part of the Environment and Natural Resource Ministry, we participate in the Upper Gulf of California Sustainability Intergovernment Group. Everyone have a great afternoon, and let's take a look at the videos.
Esa es la cría, ese es el cup. Ese es.
It's beautiful. That's a coop.
Ese es el de un año.
The one in the bottom is a 1-year-old.
Fantástico.
It's wonderful. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jesus Atarain. Welcome to the Upper Gulf Reserve. We're navigating the reserve waters on board the 2024 Vaquita survey vessel. Our observation is being done by experts with the participation of our San Felipe youth community. And we're very happy to foster this process from CONAMP so that local communities can participate in conserving our biodiversity. I've loved it. You learn a lot, and that enthusiasm is contagious. Seeing these people who get so excited when they see a vaquita and they go like, is it a vaquita? Isn't it? But you feel the enthusiasm on board. Yeah, it's very, very exciting. And it's contagious. You also get excited. This has been very useful because these people are very experienced. They've taught us how to use big eyes and fly drones. They're training us so that in the future we can be observers in the port. I saw them with big eyes, and then I saw them with a drone. And it's useful for us because we have a further field of vision, better knowledge on animals and species. I'm very excited, happy, and thankful to CONAMP, to the community group. And I'd like to stay here always to keep monitoring the vaquita and find out more about it. I think it's great that experts are working here and we can learn and then teach others. Training in sighting marine mammals, especially porpoise or vaquita, and the equipment they provide, vessels, binoculars, and the specialized staff who are helping us with our questions. It's unforgettable for us to experience this, and we hope we can keep working on this for a long time to be a force of good. Ministry of the Environment